Thank you for being here. Despite the fractured rib you all may have read about, actually suddenly all of us planning the conference started following religiously ESPN to get reports to see whether Rich and Kevin might have to cancel, but fortunately they didn't. So you probably know everything about Kevin and maybe quite a lot about Rich. But let me tell you just a few things you might not know. Did you know that his wingspan is 7 feet 4 inches? Did you know that he was a credentialed photographer on the sidelines of Super Bowl 50? And did you know that he appeared in the kids' movie Thunderstruck? But perhaps more important for our conversation, he thinks a lot about his legacy and the impact he can have on the world, even though he's only 29. And he also thinks about his and our addiction to technology. And he even, at one point, deleted his Instagram, although he went back.
True.
So at the same time, and we'd love to hear more about how your partnership began, Rich, who is Kevin's partner, they've launched the Durant company together, which has invested in many things, including, in the interest of full disclosure, Thrive Global. You've launched 35 Media. You've launched the foundation, and we'll talk about the amazing work you're doing in Maryland. But I want to start with the heart of our conversation, which is this connection that science has confirmed over the last few years between well-being and taking care of ourselves, our sleep, our nutrition, our exercise, and performance. And of course, there's nobody better to talk about it than an elite athlete, because you have the stats to prove it. So how do you prioritize your own well-being, your sleep, taking care of yourself in order to be better at the game?
Well, I just try to take care of my mind first, and I think everything else flows behind that. And one thing that I learned, I spent a year away from the game because I was injured. I broke my foot in 2015, I think. I try to forget about it, but in 2015 I broke my foot, so that I had a lot of time to think. I had a lot of time to figure stuff out, figure myself out, because my whole life was basketball. So throughout that time, I learned how to separate the two. You know, as a kid, you grow up loving the game and playing it, no responsibility in life whatsoever. And as you get older, it turns into a job. And around 14 or 15, it became a job for me up until a few years ago. And I learned I'm better and more focused, and my mind's in a better place if I treat it like I have that kid-like joy that I had as, at 8, 9 years old. If I carry that same type of joy right now, I think the game for me is a little better. So I try to separate my home life, my personal life, and what I do on a basketball court. And, it's made me more focused, it's made me better, it's made me, appreciate the game more, love the game more. And that in turn, that's making me work harder and harder every single day. So, it's weird enough, me being injured helped me mentally and helped me get on the right path in order for me to have my own formula to be the best player and person I can be.
So it's really the combination of physical well-being and mental well-being. And in fact, it's interesting because there was an article by UC Berkeley's Greater Good Science Center about the Warriors. And it called the Warriors a case study in mindfulness, empathy, and cooperation, and that your coach, Steve Carey, deliberately shaped team culture around these 4 core values of joy, which is, you mentioned, mindfulness, compassion, and competition. So how do these 4 values impact and inform your own life?
Well, for us, joy is something that we tend to get away from as professionals because, obviously the responsibilities that you have as a grown-up, making it to the NBA, kind of drowns out the reason why you started, which is, just the pure love and joy for the game. And Coach Kerr does a good job of, reminding us that we still play a game that we picked up as kids because we enjoyed it. And competition is something that we've been doing every single day since we were young. Competition isn't just wanting to beat somebody because you want to be bigger and better and more popular or more famous. It's about what you do every single day to make yourself a better basketball player in my case, but to make you a better teammate, to make you a better student of the game. I think that's competition, wanting to come in every single day and work as hard as you can to be the best player in person that you can. That's competition, and we do that every time we step on the court. So that's like breathing to us. So we try to focus more so on the joy and the love of the game, you know, because that is something that we tend to forget about as we get older. And you know, everybody on our team, you know, gets that concept. So we listen to music while we warm up. Coach talks about current events, you know, right before practice, gets our take on how we feel about certain situations in our country. Like that stuff gets our mind moving a little bit and allows us to play better on the basketball court. And it was a unique way of approaching the game, but I learned so much in the last 2 years that has made me a better player.
And Rich, you and I talked a few months ago about changes you wanted to bring in your own life. You know, you are so incredibly busy. You are building so much together with Kevin that you had started neglecting your own workouts, how you're eating, how you're sleeping. So tell us some of the changes you made in your life.
Yeah, I mean, I think this probably dates back for me all the way to college, even before Kevin and I worked together. There's an emphasis, I think, I grew up in New York City, so there was always an emphasis amongst my peers in New York and just the energy of New York. And then there was an emphasis as I moved into the entertainment business and the sports world to be the busiest person in the room, to brag about how little sleep you get, how little you see your family, how many deals you're doing. And that whole culture, while I think I was able to thrive in it to a degree at a younger age, once I started getting a bit older and got married and had kids, it brought me just high levels of anxiety. And I didn't realize it wasn't outward, it wasn't in the form of physical symptoms, but the feeling of just constantly having to fill time with something new, feeling this paranoia if there was downtime, or if there wasn't something that was active, I thought was the way in which you had to achieve that success. You know, you get all these like glorified entrepreneurs that are always talking about that they never stop working, they work 24 hours a day. And I realized that I really hadn't become like the best version of myself or maximized my potential. And a lot of it had to do, I think, with Kevin's attitude in some ways and his confidence in me and empowering me to run this business, but not feel the need to do this on a second-by-second basis. That made me feel comfortable enough to say, you know what, I'm more comfortable in sweatpants, so I work better. I need to sleep a certain amount of time, and I want to do the best job I could possibly do on these 3 projects, and I may have to say no to certain things. And as soon as I took on that attitude, I think I was more present with my children. I was happier. I didn't have that feeling that I just can't explain in words, but it was that feeling that there was too many emails to answer, too many text messages, and some so completely irrelevant, and some so unimportant, and some just needing to respond to a friend or to a relative, and knowing that I could take that time. And I made a concerted effort to do it, and our conversation really helped as well, kind of solidifying that this was the goal I wanted to take in my life. And I've seen the success in my marriage, in my home, in our business relationship, in everything, since I've limited the amount of time that I do certain things and focus in on a few and really become like the best version of myself.
It's actually quite amazing how our culture remains still in the grip of the delusion that you have to be always on to succeed and sacrifice sleep and the recharging. And that's why I think it's so important that somebody, like you, Kevin, like you, Rich, who has clearly succeeded, talking about that creates kind of a new role model. And so if you were talking to some of the kids that you are helping in Maryland, with the center you are building there to help kids with no advantages to get on the college track, if you were giving them some advice about how to lead their lives with these new precepts, what would you tell them?
It's pretty cliche. Find something that you really love to do, really passionate about. Stay committed to it. Be disciplined. There's going to be days where you don't feel like doing anything. Obviously, we all go through those. But don't do it. And the next day, pick it up. You might feel better the next day, but that's being committed and disciplined to something. Some days you might not feel good doing stuff, but it's all right. It's part of it. That's a part of the journey. I think we tend to look step by step instead of trying to look down the line and figure out this whole thing is just a, you know, like I said, it's a journey. There's plenty of days where I didn't feel like going to the gym and I needed to get my mind right first in order for me to go to the gym. So, you know, I can go in there and, you know, I didn't feel like playing. And I go in there and have 30 minutes of a bad workout because my mind's not in it, when I could have just took that time to myself to really, you know, figure things out and then go back and I could be more effective. So, you know, I learned that a lot, you know, the past few years, and I tell kids all the time, find something that you're passionate about, and there's gonna be days when you don't feel like doing it. There's gonna be days when you need to talk to someone. I talk to Rich all the time about, man, I don't feel like playing ball. I don't feel like going into the gym. I don't want to talk to anybody. I really just want to play my video game. and he's usually like, well, you know, do what makes you happy. Do it at the moment. Do what makes you happy. But you know, the long-term goal is for you to continue to do this stuff. So, you know that it's a journey. Know that it's a long road. But at the same time, if you find something that you love to do, stick with it, enjoy it. And don't feel obligated to do things that, you know, a lot of other people tell you may be important, because you create your own happiness and you create your own wealth, because it all is all up here at the end of the day.
You know, it's funny, we judged a panel, a Youth of the Year panel at the Boys and Girls Club in Redwood City about a month ago. And we had to sit with each one of these kids and they had to kind of tell us, and it was a very uncomfortable position to be in, but once we were told by many people before us that had done it, why they all had acknowledged that they were winners to get to this point, but that someone had to get this award in the evening. We were okay with it, but it was a tough process because we had to sit there and listen to their stories and understand what they had gone through. And you grow up in a certain environment and you're told that you have to, you know, hard work is really what people tell you to do. It's just like if you work hard, you'll get out. So if I didn't have anything, my reaction to that would be to work every second of the day so I would be able to get out of the environment that I'm in. But I don't think that's like, it's not said with also, these are the things you need to do to make sure that you can work hard at your best if you do these things. It's just work hard. So we started talking to these kids that were 17 years old, and one of them was, I wake up at 5 a.m. so I can work from 5 to 7, you know, at the grocery store down the block. Then I come and wake my little brother up and I prepare food for him, get him off to school, and then my mom speaks no English, so I have to get my mom to talk to her boss, and she's explaining her day, and then I'm in 4 AP classes and doing this, and I work a night job, and I come home. And she was so high-strung, and I didn't have the answer. You know, some of the other people that were judging were Sundar from Google, and some of these people that were giving, you know, very sophisticated responses. And Kevin and I were just like, well, when do you ever like breathe or take care of yourself? And she just started crying. And you realize that like at such a young age, it's some of those same things that are instilled. And I felt stressed out for her. Like I really felt that obviously she needed to do this to get herself out of her environment, but that there was still probably a level of success that she could achieve with being able to say no at some point and to step back a bit. But it's just what we tell people, you know, to work hard.
Right, and working hard is not the problem. It's the assumption that working hard means being always on and not taking time to unplug and recharge. And you've both talked and written about the additional problem of how addicted to our devices we are becoming. And Kevin, you have 27 million people who follow you on social media. Yeah. So tell us about that relationship. I'm sure at the end of tonight you're going to have even more. So tell us about this relationship. Like, I know sometimes it can become toxic. Yeah. You know, people can bring out the worst of themselves. Yeah. So how have you navigated it?
Well, like you said earlier, I got off of Instagram and Twitter and all that stuff because I was getting addicted to it. It was part of my everyday routine, to a point where I was letting whatever I seen affect me on a day-to-day basis. You know, I was getting upset about a comment or what someone said, and it was really affecting my day. I wasn't the same person. So I had to, you know, once I took a couple weeks off from not even looking at posts or, comments or none of that stuff, and I just felt so free. And I felt like this was the real world. And once I started to see the difference between the two, I got back on. And now the stuff that made me upset, I kind of laugh at it now. And sometimes I do indulge in it, or sometimes I, especially the sports media, it's all a joke now, in my opinion. So it's, so like sometimes I get involved in that, but it's to the point now where I know that this is not real life, and I know that we use it for such good sometimes, but it's also a real world out there of communication between us, just face to face, and I think that's a good way to get to know someone or go about your day. So I try to navigate it that way and kind of see the difference between the digital world and what goes on in real life, and I know we're advancing as a humanity, and everything's advancing, and technology is a new thing, but there's also some traditional ways to live life, and I try to use that as much as I can. But it is pretty, everybody on our team, at halftime, guys are on their phones, or right after the game, I text him a second after the game's over with, just because it's just a way of life now. But I try to separate the two. It's hard. I can't lie, it is. Just honest.
So do you ever try in half game, say, not to get on your phone?
I mean, if I'm doing something I really enjoy, I really like doing, I don't pick my phone up. But that's probably it. Mainly the stuff that I really like doing, I try to just be in the present. Keep your phone away. Yeah, just be in the present, enjoy the moment. Before I wanted everybody to see what I was doing. I was Snapchatting and doing all of this stuff, but now I try to stay in the moment as much as I can.
And Rich, how are you handling social media with your children? You have an 8-year-old and a
I haven't.
5-year-old.
I have a major problem myself. I really never put my phone down. It's really uncomfortable. So my kids use their phone way too much. It's something we probably should tackle in the house. If anyone has any advice. I'm just being honest, I have no control over it right now. I really don't.
This is like an AA session.
Yeah. It feels like
my name is Rich, and I'm powerless over my phone.
I am.
No, we can all stand up and say that to some extent or another.
Yeah.
But I think it's interesting that you are noticing it with your children already.
Yeah. My kids use their phone too much. My 4-year-old does. I honestly don't know what she does on the phone. I really don't. But she has the phone as well.
Maybe she's following Kevin.
Yeah. I hope not. For her, I'm okay with it. She's just like recording videos of herself and stuff. My 8-year-old's a bit uncomfortable. Some of the Musical.ly, some of these apps that they use. But it's tough for me. My wife doesn't use it. My wife puts her phone away. She has a really good relationship with her phone. But I don't. So I think that in some ways it's like for them, they think that's a little bit of a moment we have. And it's like we grab our phone and that's like your safety blanket for a second. Not that we don't do anything as a family and we're all sit there on our phone all day, but it is present. It's like I'm on it, or I'm checking a score of a game, or I'm talking to people but still talking to them. And again, I think it's all very manageable. Obviously, we have a very happy household, but I could imagine that there would be more that we could all do and learn about each other and talk and enjoy if the phones went down. But it's also a crutch at times. It is like it consumes time. It takes your attention off certain things. And then I do actually use my phone for some real, I do work phone. I'm on email and text all day, and for me, I'm comfortable with that. I'm relaxed, and I don't love answering the phone, but I can do that. And then I went into this Stephen Hawking hole the other day. I read about him for 3 hours, and I'll get into those things, and I'm okay with that. Some people pick up their Kindle or read a book. I'm okay when that's what I'm doing. But when my kids are watching video about how to make slime, and I'm next to them, and I'm, just reading 8,000 feeds of what people think about Kevin and getting myself worked up, that's an uncomfortable relationship. Yeah.
So now you're beginning to make some changes little by little.
Yeah, I'm 3 days sober.
We are with you. We'll completely support you all the way, Rich. Let me ask you one question before we go to the audience to take your questions, and that's about the Durant Center in Maryland that you are working with Laureen Jobs over. It's such an amazingly important undertaking for you, and you're investing $10 million there. So how do you see it in terms of your legacy, in terms of your impact in the world?
Well, for me, I wanted to do this because, to be honest, I remember riding around my neighborhood and I just see a lot of kids just doing a bunch of nothing. And a lot of bright kids doing it, and intelligent kids doing a bunch of nothing. And I want them to see the rest of the world. I want them to see what's out there. I want them to meet different people from different areas. I want them to travel. I want them to read different books. I want them to try different foods. And I mean, for me, the easiest way to do it was to kind of guide them to college, and and I learned the social part of myself. Like I said, I felt like I was just a basketball player until I left home. And once I got to college, I seen how big that was for me that year that I spent down in Austin. I just wanted them to feel the same way I did. And me and Rich, been talking about it for a few years, and we met Laureen, and it was we kind of got the ball rolling really, really fast. So it was pretty simple. I was tired of seeing kids just at home after high school and with no real dreams or goals, and I wanted to kind of kickstart them and help them out a bit, and hopefully College Track does a good job at that, and we'll see if it creates some great people from my area. That's what I'm looking forward to. So we'll see.
And so tell us what makes your partnership work, because I've seen you together and it's really amazing. I mean, partnerships can be so powerful. So what is this bromance about?
Well, for me, I know exactly why I'm here, and I know that Kevin's the engine that drives this, and I know how important basketball is, and I know that all of these opportunities that we're able to do together in business and come from the fact that he's worked his whole life and he's such a special basketball player and athlete, and I don't want to ever take the focus off that. So I think the fact that I'm really respectful of his time and that comes first, and what we do in business, even if I think something's an incredible idea or incredible opportunity, if it's not the right time for him, or it doesn't motivate him, or it's just not right at that moment, or he needs to focus on basketball, then I just stop. I won't press the issue. Because if he's not all the way engaged or 100% committed, or if he feels like anything's taking him away from the court, then we can't do it. Without basketball, for us, it's none of this. So I think at the root of it was that. And then, we both, I think he realized how much I loved basketball. And we're 12 years apart, but we're very similar in a lot of ways. It's just scary, and we still discover that. And then we trust each other.
And just to tie in yesterday, the first day of the conference, with today, since this is our last crowning session, last night David Agos interviewed Tony Robbins, and Tony told us that he had come and spoken to you and the Warriors last week, I think. So what was that like? What impact did he have?
It was, I'm not gonna lie, I went into this whole thing with Tony, and I'm like, here's another guy that's gonna tell us how we're supposed to approach what we do best, which is play ball. Another guy that's gonna tell us how we should talk to our family and friends. So I was definitely closed-minded when it came to hearing Tony Robbins' name, I can't lie, but once I went into the room, I was blown away. The techniques he had, because as humans, we sway with the wind. Our emotions go up and down, and the really, really great ones learn how to stay centered, stay focused, and channel their emotions in the right directions. And he gave us a lot of different techniques to do that, and I've always been trying to figure that out myself and how I could be better with that. And the way he did it, it's hard for me to explain, but it was just the stuff he was talking about for peak performance and trying to be the best person that you can be, as a basketball player, and how my energy affects my team. I was very, very interested in I've been trying to figure out ways to do that. So when he came in, when I left there, I I had to let him know that he did a great job because going in, I was just over it. But he was incredible. I learned a lot from him.
So, any questions? Yes.
Hi, Amir Kalali here. Kevin, I love your first answer to Ariana's first question, where she asked you about, how do you go about improving performance? I think you said, you go to mentor. Can you talk a little bit more about what you personally, how you go about that, what you do?
Well, I realized that, like I said, the joy and the love is something that I got away from. I took that for granted. I took that love and joy for the game for granted, and I made it about wanting to be the most looked at, the most popular, along with being the best basketball player. So when I got into the gym, my focus wasn't solely on just trying to be better and trying to figure out what I can be better at and how I can help someone else be better. I wanted to be popular. I wanted people to know who I was. That's what I got told. That's what I was told competitiveness was being better than the next person. But I tried to figure out what that really meant, and I learned that it's always about just getting 1% better. That's my thing, getting 1% better every time I step on a basketball court. And if I focus just on that, I think my performance would be even better. So the layers of the entertainment business is what I call it, playing in the NBA. I try to eliminate those and just focus on what I love to do, which is get better as a basketball player.
Yes.
Hello, I'm Inzari. I was wondering how you strike a balance between your professional life and your work with your foundation.
It's a good question. I empower guys like Rich. Because like I said, I'm still on a journey of trying to be the best player I can be, and that takes a lot of my focus and time. And our season is really long, and we travel a lot. But Rich does a great job of being on the ground and empowering, different people like Jose that works for us. Jose Minya works for us. He's the head of our foundation. Basically, makes all the moves, and I'm always in the loop on emails and texts. But they realize, like I said, he said earlier, he realized what's important for me right now, which is trying to be the best player I can be. And his job is to make sure he updates me on everything. And I also give him a vision and of what I want, and he been making it come to life. So it's a good balance.
I think you're a bit humble sometimes about how much involvement you have. He is very clear about what his vision is, and like he said, expects those updates. But I also think that because of what we had talked about earlier, we don't ever take on too much, that we can really do our best job at executing something. The college track thing started about 1.5 years ago, and we moved at a certain pace where Kevin could stay involved aesthetically and looking at the curriculum and understanding the program and where we were doing it. We waited till he was in DC to look at real estate. So the train doesn't really leave without him. It's always trying to kind of make sure that we stay with the pace of his life as a basketball player, but also get the best of him on the business side as well.
Kevin, first a comment. I just wanted to say the thing you guys did in Washington, D.C. last month with the Museum Day and the school was really brilliant. I just want to say congratulations. I hope the Warriors will do more events like that.
Appreciate that.
Second, a question. In the middle of a heated game recently, I saw you staring at game stats. You had a printout, you were staring. You looked like a person, you impressed me as a person who lives on stats and data. Do you do that in games only or in your life in general?
No, just in the games. And not really in games, actually. I'm not really a big analytics fan when it comes to basketball, but they do tell a small part of the story. I'm big on the eye test as well, and the emotions and the energy and the feel of the game. But I do try to see how the game is going through the numbers sometimes. You can tell a small part of the story.
Thank you so much. This has been an amazing end to the conference. Thank you for making it so special. Thank you for being here.